Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we will have the first part of our 2023 recap.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have our usual group of hosts. We have Worshipful Brother Jared Dunham from Penticton Lodge 147 in Penticton, BC. Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles number 153 in lovely Kelowna, British Columbia. Very worshipful Brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. And I'm Matt Apple, and I'm a member of Mill Creek Lodge number 243, and we meet in Montlake Terrace, Washington. Today we're going to sort of just do an informal discussion of our favorite episodes from the last year, our favorite topics, since several of them went for more than one episode, and sort of discuss what we liked and what we didn't like and where things stand. So do we have a volunteer to go first? Anyone?
Jared.
I probably should have thought of this before I started talking and picked someone to pick on. But
all right, I'll go first. Going through all the episodes, I found that my favorites were the follow-up interviews with the past Grand Masters of BC and Washington. Ken Overy and who's your last one? Cameron.
Okay.
That was 2 years ago. Ed Woods.
Yeah, but those were my favorite.
Cameron's good though. He's a good guy.
Ray, tell why. What made them stand out in your mind?
Well, we got to hear, them share their experience of their year. And one of my favorite things is hearing the stories about the guys' past experiences in Freemasonry, right? That's one of the cool things I enjoy about carpooling, right? You get to hear stories and history that you wouldn't normally hear, right? And like Ken Overy got to talk about the Cornerstone Project and the effect that that's had, and the things that he enjoyed about his year, like making it about the members, not really about him when he was going to his official visits. He had guys, his thing was the standard bearers, the guy who follows him into the lodge on his official visits. He selected guys who had the Medal of Merit, no desire to ever go through the chairs, but they're always there and they do a lot for Freemasonry, right? And he mentioned quite often he would, if there wasn't a guy with Medal of Merit, he would select an entered apprentice or a new Master Mason. And yeah, I don't know. It was them sharing their experiences, right? That's kind of what I really enjoyed about those.
Unfortunately, I think I have to say that those were my favorites too. That's actually what I had picked out was the interviews with the Grand Masters.
But for the same reason, or what was your reason for?
Honestly, I think it might be a little selfish. I kind of enjoyed just having a different point of view on the podcast and having someone. It wasn't just us talking to ourselves, us talking with someone who wasn't ourselves. But it was an opportunity just to talk to someone else and get their opinions on things. And I liked the stories. Actually, I thought Ken told a great story of his most worshipful Brother Overy. Told a great story of his joining the craft, and I really appreciated that. And those are the episodes I enjoyed most doing.
Sure. like Ed Woods, he talked about laying the wreath down and them actually opening the tomb for him at George Washington's monument there, right? And he said, there's the odd special thing you get to do as the Grand Master that, nobody else gets to do that, right? They don't open that tomb for anybody else, right? And that, it makes it, to me, it makes it more unique, more special. And I don't know, that the living vicariously through their experiences, kind of, that's what I enjoy about the interview. I mean, uh, you listen to I guess their incoming interview, and that's their plans and the things that they want to achieve and accomplish, and then as we coined it, their exit interview, but not really, what did they enjoy in their year? I find that very interesting. Each one of them was very different, right? So.
Yeah, I do enjoy some of the interviews. I guess for me, it's interviews that have someone that has some information to deliver, right? So I do enjoy the Grandmasters and intro and extra, and yeah, I would agree that I like the stories and that kind of stuff. I guess I would, and I'm happy that we have those in there. I think that has been something good that we've continued on from the beginning, and I assume we'll continue that in the future too. And we, just so the audience know, we've been having great debates in our blue room. I'll just kind of lay it out there. We've been having great debates in our blue room about what we want to do next year. And so, of course, solicitation. If you have any ideas, we'd love to have those ideas. But in my opinion, I'm not sure we want to go to just interviews or having guests on just to talk. I mean, even though this is a casual conversation about Masonry, it is our casual conversation about Masonry. It's not necessarily opening it up to everybody, to the whole world necessarily, although we want their inputs.
Right.
But I would be interested in knowing if there's a unique story out there, if there's a unique perspective on something, or if somebody has a unique office, if we could get somebody from the other side of the world, or to talk about something, how it affects, like we often talk about ideas, how it's different between just Washington and the BC area. So let alone United States versus Canada, and the different rituals and things we do. And so that's interesting to me. How are things different? How they're the same in many cases, but different. And so if we get another perspective on those things, potentially, that might be interesting as well.
I know the other night I was on a Zoom call, listening in and just observing for planning for it. It was one of those calls for planning the annual communication, and the Grand Master, both the outgoing and the incoming Grand Masters are really looking forward to their opportunity to come onto the podcast and talk about where we're going, what we're doing, and where they've been, right? So I know that having this regularity of this, that we've been doing those interviews, they all look forward to it. They think that it's a great medium to spread a message and to reach people that they normally don't get a chance to reach, right? And I think that's very valuable too, being that they don't normally get. I mean, we have listeners from all over the world. Mostly, in our North American, but I mean, we do. When we were going through those stats once, they're pretty widespread too. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we certainly have a pretty worldwide reach. Oh, it's focused in the United States and Canada, of course, but yeah, we are around the world, so it's nice to have that opportunity.
And like you said, it'd be nice to actually have other guests from other parts of the world. Maybe we pick on another couple grandmasters from somewhere else and see if they want to come on. That might be interesting as well. I'm going to Italy in May, and I'm going to be visiting the only English speaking lodge there. So maybe I find out that somebody there would be interested to join the podcast for an episode or two, or an annual basis. But yeah, if like Dave said, if there's somebody out there who has a unique story or a topic or something, reach out to us at the Working Tools Podcast at gmail.com, and we'd happily entertain anything that comes along, and at least look at it and see if it's something we'd like to do for sure.
Well, I have to say that I really enjoyed the whole season, honestly. Of course, I do enjoy the interviews with the Grandmasters. That's some of my favorite times. I like talking to people and interviewing and asking questions, and I'm not afraid to ask a question that's going to be offensive, whatever. as many of you have heard. But this season for me was really fun. I've been wanting to dive into observing the craft myself. I just haven't done it, and so it kind of forced me to do that. But I didn't know anything about Whither Are We Traveling, and that came out of the interview. If you all remember, that came out of the interview with Most Worshipful Ed Woods. He just kind of offhandedly mentioned that, and I said, "Oh, what was that about?" So I read it, and I thought, "Oh, we got to study this." And I really enjoyed, especially the first part of the year with that Whither Are We Traveling. And not to stroke Jared's ego anymore, but honestly, my favorite part of the year was the reading room section. I really enjoyed the reading room, and I think our listeners did too. It shows in their the listening volume. So yes.
Yeah, I hate to make his head any bigger than it might already be, but I got to tell you that having that, when I was debating and listening back through and looking through the episodes for the year, I was like, that was really cool, having that reading and then us talking about it. And Jared did a fabulous job reading. Brother, you did an awesome job. I was happy you were there doing that.
I'm glad that you guys like the sound of my voice as much as I do.
Yeah, we do. But I think the idea was really cool. And I concur with David. The whole year was great. I mean, we talked about things that came up through these books and the papers that probably would not have just gotten chosen as a topic, right?
And to me, that our conversations we had, especially in the Whither Are We Traveling, because they're relevant topics even today, even though they're 60 years ago, and it seems like it's just a cycle. We talked about that. It's a cycle. It's always the same cycle. But those to me were a real casual conversation about Masonry. We certainly had our influences and our ideas and thoughts and things. And that's kind of how our meeting after meetings usually are, right? There's an issue or something we're trying to deal with, and we just sit around and talk about it and hopefully come up with an idea on how to fix it, or talk about how we have fixed it or trying to fix it. And so to me, that was a real conversation. I think the stuff when we talked about observing the craft was more of a critique than it was a casual conversation. But I really enjoyed that first part, as if you can't tell.
I agree. Having Jared, to go back, having Jared read the material, I thought was a really, whoever thought of that, it was a really good touch. And as I've said before, I think he did a good job of it. And I enjoyed the discussion of that paper too. I enjoyed the discussion of the book. As I said in the Blue Room a minute ago, I kind of felt like it went on for a long time. Like it was several months we were discussing that book. And I'm not saying it didn't have several months of material in it, but I don't know. I was kind of looking for something to break it up a little, which is, again, I think maybe also why I like the Grandmaster interviews. It sort of broke up the book a bit.
Yeah, I did put that in my notes that I felt like even myself, and I felt like I could see a change once we got to about 3/4 of the way through the papers and about 3/4 of the way through the book. I could tell our conversations kind of changed. It was a little more, okay, here we are back at work again. And it wasn't, it was totally different attitudes though in the first few chapters, especially in the first few chapters of the paper. It was we were kind of having inspiration. It was a whole new idea. We were really excited about it. And maybe that's just my impression because I was, but.
Well, the first few bits of the chap, it seemed to me that the first few bits about the paper and the book seemed to be more interesting. Like it's sort of like, but I mean, a lot of times that's what happens when people write stuff is they put the good stuff at the beginning and, and they've got to fill out the rest. So they kind of, come up with other points. I don't know. I have a special place in my heart for Observing the Craft. So I really enjoyed going over that book again, because I've never had the opportunity to sit down with other people who have read it to discuss it. And I think that was the big thing this year, was having, you guys also reading it. And I mean, admittedly, I may not have agreed with the opinions all the time, but
Yeah.
Well, but it's good to get other people's opinions.
It gave me different perspectives. And there was a lot of, yeah, right. Why aren't we doing that? And yeah, right. There was several of those moments for me as I read the book. Right. So as much as I'm not the biggest reader in the group, I did enjoy reading that book and the content of it. And I spent a lot of time wishing we did more of some of those things in our lodge, right? But then again, I'm just one man, one Mason, right? In my lodge. So, I can suggest and I can try to influence, but we'll see what comes out of it, right?
Yeah, I agree with Jared too. That I wrote down that out of the book section, chapter 2 and chapter 4, I think were kind of probably my favorites, just because they're a little more broad and overall in scope and not a little more detail, where the other chapters are a little more focused on a little more narrow area. I did notice that in my notebook, I had taken pretty extensive notes in the first few chapters. And then when we got to chapter 3, remember what chapter 3 was? Dealing with distractions. Completely blank pages. I didn't write any notes about that chapter. I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I think we started the show by saying, "Yep, we agree with."
Yeah, we just kind of went, "Yeah, we agree." Well, that was short.
Yeah, it was really fun to go back and read the notes, and there's just so many, especially in those 2 chapters. There were so many great quotes and heavy with meaning and thoughtfulness. Sometimes you wonder, how often did he go back and edit the book that way, or if it was just that's the way it came out, or anyway, like with our ritual, I think there's, with all aspects of Masonry in life, there's heavy meaning potentially if you read into it.
What were your favorite parts, Jared?
I was just about to ask the same thing. I don't remember Jared.
Well, like I said, I have a special place in my heart for Observing the Craft, so I really enjoyed us doing that this year. I agree that at times it did feel like we were not so much dragging it out, but it was dragging on. Especially, I think maybe if we'd started it earlier instead of doing it over the summer months, when it actually felt like, maybe we were in summer school and, damn, should have done this sooner. But yeah, that was, and yeah, so I really enjoyed doing I like doing the papers and the books. I mean, that's my jam. I like nothing better than sitting down and reading and taking notes and stuff and talking about that. I wish there was, that's something I wish there was more of in Lodge, more of a book club feel.
Why have a beard like that if you can't sit back and stroke it and contemplate? Yes.
Well, I mean, as we hear from our listeners, the variety of what we've done over the past year, I think, was appreciated by many. Shortening our episodes, to having the variety of interviews versus books versus papers and so on. I think overall the whole year that way was a good blend, and if we can continue to have a blend of these things, I think it'll be another great year next year.
It's not like Christmas, right? My other favorite thing.
Christmas. It is Christmas,
My other favorite thing in watching the shows, and it's so fun to watch the show or listen to the show and laugh along with it. I feel I'm back in there, and it's fun to be a listener, right? And just to listen to it and you go, oh yeah, I agree. Oh, no, wait, I don't agree with that. And we hope that everybody's doing that. But I was trying to find the appropriate way to say this without being offensive in any way, but Jared's aspirated size is how I worded it. Exasperated size. Exasperated size. Yes. There was so many times where Like, honestly, those are some of my favorite parts.
Just ask my daughters about it.
But there have been so many comments when I talk to people that really listen to the show. If they said, we know something's good's coming when Jared has this side.
Well, I'm glad I'm entertaining.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping that the series of podcasts throughout the year is entertaining for everybody, and I think if that makes it for some, that's awesome, right? Another sigh. Here we go. Something's coming good. Yep, I like that.
Did you guys go through and look at any in particular? I wrote down about 6 or 8 episodes that I liked and didn't like and that kind of stuff. Did you guys do some of that thing?
Do you actually did the homework? Is what you're saying?
Well,
Yeah.
Making the rest of us look bad.
Sure, way to go, teacher's pet.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if we'll break here or not, but one of the things I didn't agree with, I noticed that in my notes I didn't agree with, was in the book that he mentions that there's 3 key elements that Masons are known for. I made sure to put so I could see air quotes on those that are listening, or Western dress, precision in ritual, and traditional celebratory feasts. Those are the 3 things that Masons are known for. And I went, really? That's what we're known for?
I often hear people say they want to join Masonry because of the ritual that they haven't heard.
And Western, I don't know too many. I'm assuming he means like Western, not like Western yeehaw.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, I know that we're well known for our cowboy boots and bolo ties.
Well, we did talk about the good time lodges too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't. That was the one piece I remember not agreeing with. That I don't mean to beat him up, but it just was something I noted that otherwise probably 95% of it I did agree with.
Well, I don't know. I did go through those, and some of my favorite topics are, ritual and the, precision in ritual, and as well, being, having been there and done that, the dress was another favorite topic of mine too.
Yeah.
Not
So
very-
I guess is there I will say I feel like we've talked more about the book than we have about the paper part, maybe just because it was longer ago. But one of the things about the paper that really stuck in my mind, whether it was for good or for bad, was there was the story about bring the line to the standard or bring the standard to the line. The guy who's carrying the flag gets too far ahead of the military formation, and the officer tells him to come back, and he says, "No, you come up here," kind of thing. And I don't know, that just really stuck with me. And I can understand from a military perspective you wouldn't want that, but you guys shape up, not me. Don't tell me I'm too good. That really stuck with me for a long time.
Yeah, I had that in my list of shows, my favorite shows. It was, how it says, it wasn't the least favorite, but it was the least of my favorite list. I had several ahead of that, but it was not my least favorite. But I did have that in my top, 5 or 6 favorite shows. Yeah, I did like that. Is Freemasonry a little too common? It was, can anybody join essentially? And we need to bring this standard up. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that from that title. And so it was an interesting chapter. So
I feel like we're slowly running out of steam here on our recap of 2023. I guess I will say, if our listeners have any input and have anything particularly that any of Jared's exasperated sighs or my stupid comments that particularly resonated with you and that you wish to forcibly rehash with us, please let us know. We're on all the social media things and YouTube, obviously, and such. So if you're interested, please let us know. Please send us a message. We'd be only too happy to discuss it with you and maybe drag you on the show. Whether that's an incentive or a disincentive, I'm not quite sure. But with that, on behalf of Stephen and Jared and David and myself, we want to wish you all a happy new year here coming up shortly, and have a blessed new year for you and your family. So thank you very much for listening to the Working Tools Podcast. Goodbye.